Welcome friends to this installment of Expeditious Expeditions. I'm Mr. Jones and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about Jovita Idar. Jovita was a Mexican-American journalist, activist, and teacher. She fought for women, children, and the rights of all Mexican Americans. She faced many dangers in her life as an activist, but she is most famous for standing her ground against the Texas Rangers as they came to destroy her printing press. Idar bravely fought the injustices of her time, so join me in taking a deeper look at this hidden figure. In 1914, Texas Rangers rushed through the streets of Laredo, ready to destroy the newspaper Jovita Idar worked for. But when the Rangers arrived, the young journalist was standing in the doorway, blocking their passage. Having recently written about the Texas Rangers' penchant for violence against Mexicans, Idar knew she was in danger. But she stood fast. A teacher turned journalist and activist, and sometimes nurse, Jovita Idar is one of the most historically significant Texans that you've never heard of. Idar was born in 1885 in Laredo, Texas, but her story really began in 1903 when she became a teacher. Idar was passionate about teaching, but she couldn't believe the abysmal living conditions of her students nor their limited education. Her frustrations with the Texas public education system made her reevaluate her career, and she became a journalist, something very few women did at this time. At first, she wrote for various newspapers, under the pseudonyms of Ave Negra and Astrea, Ave Negra meaning blackbird, and Astrea as referring to the Greek goddess of justice. Later, under her given name, she wrote about the many injustices the Tejanos endured at the turn of the century, covering everything from lynching to poverty and segregation, and especially highlighting the need for better education. But not just any education, a free, bilingual, culturally inclusive education. Even though this was during a time when Spanish was banned from the Texas public school system, she wrote,
"Mexican children in Texas need an education. There is no other means to do it but ourselves, so that we are not devalued and humiliated by the strangers who surround us."
Her ideas were considered radical, given that this was taking place at a time when Latinx Americans were routinely discriminated against. It was only a matter of time before her writing attracted trouble. The Texas Rangers came in 1914 after she criticized an executive order issued by then-President Woodrow Wilson to send troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. The imperturbable Idar successfully stood up against the Rangers, and although they returned later that night to destroy the printing press, her action was seen as a victory. Jovita continued to fight for her community and helped organize the first ever political convention by and for Latinx Americans. She also founded the Mexican American Women's League, which provided free clothes, food, and education to women and children. Her activism did not distinguish between borders, and during the height of the Mexican Revolution, she crossed the border to nurse wounded soldiers. In 1917, she married Bartolo Juarez and moved to San Antonio, where she established a free kindergarten, worked at a hospital as an interpreter for Spanish-speaking patients, and taught women childcare courses. Her philosophy was,
Educate a woman, and you educate a family.
Idar never had children of her own, but she helped to raise the children of her sister Elvira, who died while giving birth. Jovita Idar was truly ahead of her time. Many of the problems and issues that she fought to rectify over a century ago are still being fought for today. Her spirit of activism and bravery are needed now more than ever, as America faces some of its most troubling race-related crises in decades. In a step to bring greater understanding of the Mexican-American experience to the public, this last school year, the Texas State School Board gave approval for a Mexican-American Studies class based on an innovative course taught right here at Houston ISD. Jovita Idar's memory may have been obscured in the histories, but it is our job to carry her legacy forward and to continue to fight inequalities wherever we may find them.